kick off the tip-off with Noah and Gage. And Noah, it has been a minute, man, since we have talked West Virginia football and basketball, but I think right now is the perfect time to do that because it feels like for the first time in a long time, especially in the offseason here, things are going our way. We're getting guys left and right for both football, basketball. I mean, you got to be feeling pretty good right now, right?
Yeah, and like we talk about, Gage, it's not just about the quality of name, but looking at where you're getting these guys from. Like the schools that you are getting talent from are top tier schools, and you're able to get them in Morgantown. Football and basketball. It's just really, really nice to see um, us able to pull from some of these bigger programs, and I think it's a sign of us going the right direction in both programs.
I think the most shocking thing about all this to me is like you said, not only the talent that we are bringing into these teams, but I think we're kind of opening our pockets here a little bit, Noah, especially football. I think some of the donors that are opening up for Rich Rod, including the first name Kip, you might know the last name, affiliated with the Diamondbacks. They're good friends with Rich Rod.
Ken Kendricks?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Pat McAfee, obviously, and countless people that their name would never ever be shown or talked about. But let's start with football first. Let's dive into this. We all know the pre-spring practices. We know some of the big names that they brought in, right? Walter Youngbear, Fred Perry, Jalen Henderson, quarterback from A&M, Cam Vaughn, bunch of guys from Jacksonville State that we really think will make an impact from the jump. Now, as the spring game obviously concludes and it's kind of starting to fizzle out here and we're getting into the summer, you start seeing on Twitter left and right commits to WVU, Tennessee commits, like offensive line, UNC receiver Christian Hamilton. Once again, I mean, this isn't highlighting necessarily guys and stuff like that. That'll be closer to season as we kind of get a feel for the roles and where guys will be going. But some of these guys, Noah, are proven already at the SEC, ACC level, and they're choosing West Virginia. I think it just speaks volumes right now as to the direction that we're heading under Rich Rodriguez, and it's something completely different than what we were used to in the Neil Brown era.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, not even hitting on names. You just look at where we drew from, the guys we were able to pull in and say, hey, look, we can offer you this, and you might be a guy that is a plug and play guy on an SEC school, or you could be a starter right now. But look, we can pay you this because we value you a little bit more. We even pulled a guy from Colorado and in conference transfer there, and it's just really exciting to see the talent that we've been able to add in pieces. If you watched any of the spring game, and I did, there was some question marks at receiver for me, and there were some question marks at the offensive line. Now, per Rich Rod's presser after the game, he kind of said, obviously you don't show everything because there are teams that are going to watch this, and then two, when you're installing an offense like Rich Rod's, the offensive line is something that's going to take a while to get used to. You try and simplify it as much as it can, but what you have to do is be able to understand what the play is, and then additionally move, because you're going to run the ball 60 to 70% of running the football in Rich Rod's offense, and that's just no way around it. So the offensive line, the hogs up front, is where the game starts for Rich Rod. And he made that obvious in just this recent transfer portal with the addition of a guy from Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Donovan Haslam, 6'4", 332-pound offensive lineman. I mean, there definitely guys that we got into the program that I don't know in recent history that we would have saw that.
No, absolutely not. And you just mentioned a ton of guys. That's what it feels like. He's really addressing that offensive line specifically heavy. I feel like he's getting his type of offensive lineman in there, Bicknell offensive lineman, just maulers in the run game, maybe a little bit, iffy or unpolished in the pass game, but something that you could definitely teach with a good offensive coach, or a good offensive line coach that we have now. But Noah, a guy you didn't even mention, Jalen Knighton, coming from SMU, spent previous time at Miami. You and I both big fans of Ty Edwards, but now we're getting Knighton into this mix, and you're starting to talk to yourself, is Jaheim White and Jalen Knighton going to be the best running back duo in the Big 12 this upcoming year?
And that's the thing, though, too. I think the more pieces we add, and we added another another running back from Cancer, I believe the name is. Let me make sure. Yeah, Cancer. And we added a couple pieces in the running back room, and we obviously lost some when we cut down from the 105 uh, depth chart mark. But you lose some, but then you add some of these guys, and you're like, holy shit, are we going to use 3 or 4 backs in this backfield? Because I think those are all quality backs there. I think Knighton, like you said, kind of has that explosive piece like Jaheim White.
Yeah.
Anytime you have to watch, he's ready to take it to the house. Injury obviously stopped his season last year, but production while he was playing was very, very evident. And definitely like an eye mover where teams are like, oh shit, they just added another back.
Yeah, I agree. And I really wonder, no, because we know that Ty Edwards had some burst as big as he is, but he is more he leans more towards a power runner, right? So I wonder if we're still going to see some of him maybe near the goal line, short yardage situations, whereas like Knighton, 5'10", 185, don't have it in front of me, but Jaheim White, obviously a smaller, twitchier back. I keep making the comparison to him of, the Jahmyr Gibbs A-chain type of running back that we see in the modern day NFL. But outside of the running back, a guy I already mentioned, Rich Rod came out and said, we need to address the receiver position in the portal, whether that was just a depth piece. But he went out and got Christian Hamilton from UNC, who I think we're going to see play big games and be a 3-down receiver more than just a rotational depth guy. Really talented receiver, 6 foot, 190 pounds, great hands. I'm really excited. I've been saying this and preaching it. I think there's so much potential untapped in our receiver room with Gallagher, Jaden Bray, especially one of my favorite receivers on the roster. And then even Cam Vaughn. I mean, last year Vaughn was a freshman. He's only going to get better. And he was already really, really good at Jacksonville State. So I'm excited to see him just continue to grow. I don't even want to say develop. He's just going to continue to get better and better. And then on the flip side of it, we know Zach Alley, one of the best young defensive coordinators really in college football. A lot of people don't understand how lucky we were to have him come work with Rich Rod. He obviously got his studs, I feel like, in the beginning of the spring kind of portal, pre-spring practices. Fred Perry, who you and I are huge fans of, is going to be an absolute stud all over the defense. Derek Carter Jr. at corner. There were some question marks at the end of the spring season, specifically at like linebacker and maybe a couple other positions, and they went out and addressed that too. It's like everything that anybody outside of the actual WVU football building talked about. Well, maybe we're weak at linebacker. Maybe we are weak at defensive end, at edge, yada yada. They went out and hammered that position and are bringing in guys with talent and really, like I think about Justin Flo, the linebacker, 5-star, like universal guy that went to Oregon, never got on the field, Arizona. So sometimes you get caught up in the names that these guys are coming from, but some of these guys have true proven stats at these level. And I just think it's going to translate huge to West Virginia. I really do think that. I'm super happy where football is heading right now.
No, exactly. And when you really look into the production these guys have had at other places, and even some of the additional pieces we added on the offensive line, when you're asked to step in at a guard position or a tackle position, say at Texas, like Malik Agbo that we added, when you're asked to play these roles, those coaches have faith in you. Like, hey, we can put him in here and we're not going to lose a step,
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's crazy to me. We get these guys at West Virginia who might not be the first tier on a Texas school or a Georgia, right? But what we do is we bring them here and say, hey, look, you're a quality player. You can start for us right away. You can come into our system and you don't have to wait, right? And I think that's going to be an advantage for West Virginia going further into the portal and recruiting ages is, look, if you don't want to wait around at some of these other schools, you can come here for 2 years, play, gain your experience, stay for 4 if you want. If not, you want to transfer up then transfer up. And
play for a great head coach. I mean, let's be honest. I think now that Rich Rod is back to this level, Noah, I think you're seeing some of the respect that he has earned, previously before he dropped down there to the Jacksonville State level. Last thing I kind of want to talk about here as far as football, Noah, when you look at the departures, right, we go all the way back in time. We look at who we lost. Josiah Trotter, C.J. Donaldson, Clement, Rymack, Traylon Ray, a bunch of heavy hitters that we know, and I don't want to say come to love, but like we expected and received, I will say, a lot of production from these guys. It's like they had an answer for every single one of these guys. You lose Josiah Trotter to Missouri. You replace him with Jamori Robinson. Not different positions, but in terms of production, like the hit of losing Trotter is going to be a little bit more controlled because of Jamori Robinson. We lose C.J. Donaldson, who will be, in my opinion, our biggest hit. You and I both in agreement he was one of the more talented running backs that we've saw in recent memory at WVU. But you bring in Knighton from SMU along with Ty Edwards, and we know Jaheim White is ready for that huge role. Hudson Clement, Day Farmer, who I was a big fan of, you lose them. We're bringing in some guys and hoping that Gallagher and Bray step up and can play a bigger role. So what are your thoughts on the fact that for every guy we lost in the portal who, hey, I don't want to be a part of the Rich Rod era, and just kind of the common college football as it is now, my coach leaves who recruited me, I'm gone, I'm in the portal, no hate about that. We see it every year. What are your thoughts on the production that we've lost compared to the production that we are bringing in and predicting to have?
Well, I guess it kind of comes back to this, Gage, and what you hit on there with the scheme. My coach leaves, he's out the door. And now I leave because he wasn't the one who recruited me, whether it be the offense that they're running. But I think that really hits the nail on the head right there. If these guys were productive in last year's scheme, these guys were productive in, 2 or 3 years ago, that's what they built their bread and butter on. The guys that are coming in now to this organization are what West Virginia and Rich Rod wants. Hey, I see a quality in you that can, help my offense, can help my defense. Come. Get here, and we can work this out. It might take a little bit for you to get the offense down this, but what you have in physical traits and or production at the other level, I can use in my system. Hudson Clement's a perfect example of this. Hudson Clement was very, very good at times for West Virginia in the past couple of years, but that depends on a solid run game and a guy who's going to throw a 50-50 ball, because Clement was pretty good at winning the 50-50 ball, in my opinion. Now you get some guys that are quicker, faster, can get out to the edge, and that's what you're seeing a lot in the receiver room, with some additions of some, I guess I would say receiving type receivers, more like no yak, just make sure you secure the ball, get your hands on it, get down. So you're seeing a lot of different type of players that you're getting. And like you said, they had production at another level, and we think, hey, we can utilize you here because you fit our scheme, you fit our offense, you fit our defense a little bit better than the guy that left.
I agree. And, no matter how good your offense is, no matter how good your defense is, everybody in the football world understands that you have to have the quarterback position figured out. And I think at this point, May 6th, as we're talking about this, we as fans can feel pretty comfortable that Rich Rod has come out multiple times and publicly said, I feel comfortable about Nico and Jalen Henderson. I would be concerned if maybe there was something in his press conference where it's like, his tone of voice or something that he says, we really need some work here at quarterback, something like that, where now we're at the point in the portal trying to scramble and find a guy to come in and run his sort of offense. So to be sitting here knowing that we are going to probably more than likely see Nico start things out and finally have his crack as a full-time starter, or, maybe the Henderson, he obviously talked about the kind of dual quarterback system. We'll see about that. But both of these guys I feel super confident in. No, I'm imagine you're feeling the same way. I just recently got to see that's like all 22 film where it's a different angle than you would watch football on TV. It's beautiful. If you've never watched it, I highly advise you go watch highlights of it. I finally got to sit down and watch some Nico, like all 22 throws, reads, progression, stuff like that. He's got it, man. This guy's got it. Some of the balls, some of the reads, some of the throws he was making, I was sitting, I was like, damn. Zipping it and looking really, really good. So I'm really, really, really excited, man.
I think exactly what you said there with kind of hitting on Nico at the end is where I'm at in the quarterback position. I think Henderson was a great addition. I even think Brown was a great addition. But in all comes to all, I think he knew he had to put a competition in that quarterback room to excel. But I think we all knew at some point in time, Nico was probably the front runner for this. And you watch, like you said, you watch highlights of Nico, and then you hear how he speaks of Nico. And I just can always tell how a guy carries himself. And Nico's a starting quarterback. He's a winner. He's proven it. He can do it.
He hasn't run.
Big 12 when he starts.
He hasn't run. That's something. Both him and Jaheim White. Mountaineer fans, no matter how this upcoming season goes, whether it goes down south really quickly and we don't win a game, that's not going to be the case, but I'm just overkilling the topic here. You have to respect both Jaheim White, who who not only could have dipped when Neil Brown left, could have dipped when his running back coach, who was the entire reason that he stayed at West Virginia, left for Texas. Could have easily dipped. And then Nico as well, same situation. Obviously minus Chad Scott, but Chad Scott, one of the coaches that the players seem to love. So no matter what, I respect the absolute hell out of those two guys. And anybody else that I'm missing too that's staying. That takes a lot of guts, man. I really do appreciate that. And one thing, Noah, I did want to talk about, another position on that offensive side of the ball that had a little bit of question marks, tight end. What do? They go out and bring in Grayson Barnes, who I believe was at Fresno State, Noah?
I believe it was. I'm trying to look at that player profile right now. If I can find him, man. He's up here a little bit. Grayson Barnes. I believe it was Fresno. Yep.
So once again, I mean, that just kind of goes back to the point of you have a spot on your team that needs addressed, you go out and directly address it. I feel like I've got everything that I need to say as far as football, man. It definitely deserved a video and a talking point here before June and July hit, and we're gearing up for August, man. It's coming quick. And last thing I'll say, and I'll let you kind of send it home, how disrespectful from FanDuel and other sports books to set this team's win total at 5.5. This team will win 6 games, Noah, strictly off of just being more physical than other teams. If odds makers are sitting here looking at this team saying, not that talented, where are the skill position guys, yada, 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 what the heck? What do you think's going to happen when Colorado rolls into Morgantown at hopefully a night game, or who cares when they play, because it's the hard edge mentality. We'll play at 8 a.m. We don't care. We're going to strap the pads up and absolutely kill you. I think this team is a lock, an absolute lock for winning 6 games.
Yeah, I think there's no question that this team wins 6 games. There's a chance you start off the year, 3-4-0. Pretty, I mean, it wouldn't be crazy to say you win 4 games in a row and all you got to do is win 2 to get over that 5.5 mark. Like you said, I think Rich Rod's been in this game long enough to let's not say outcoach, not X and O, but have his team more ready than the other team that lines up across from him. And a lot of things that I feel like these, odds makers take out of question. You get familiar with a lot of the coaches in the Big 12 because there's not a huge amount of turnover in the power conferences at head coach. So whenever you get a new coach into the league that they haven't played, and not that there's not a lot of film on Rich Rod's offense and those things, but it's a different vibe. It's a different, you can kind of predict what the other guy's going to do on a sideline. You can't tell me over the past 5 years, we didn't know Neil Brown was coming out on 3rd and 11 and running the damn bubble screen or the tunnel screen, right? We knew it was coming, and so did the opposing coach. So you throw in a little bit of no shade towards Neil Brown. I apologize there. But anyways, looking at it, when you add a coach who obviously is very experienced, has won at all levels of football, and has composed a roster that we're seeing get put together, you have to really start thinking like, okay, this team, I mean, if I was setting a line on this team, I would set 7.5 in my honest opinion, Gage. That would be mine every day of the week. 7.5 would be the line for me.
I agree, man. And as if football hasn't been going, good enough right now, you transition over to basketball. Ross Hodge, Noah, the hire from North Texas, who, let's be honest, wasn't necessarily the most sexy hire in the world. There were a lot of names kind of thrown around in that hiring process. Ren Baker comes out, says this should be done fairly quickly. It doesn't. He's taking flights out to New Mexico to talk to Little Patino. When Ross Hodge is hired, the immediate kind of question is, well, what kind of roster is he going to bring coming from North Texas? I think that was a lot of West Virginia fans' concerns, right? Well, those concerns, you can take those and throw them directly out of the window, because this, in my opinion, and still building, is one of the most talented transfer classes coming into West Virginia basketball. Obviously, the 1 year of Snake DeVries doesn't really count. But obviously, I really believe that this is better than probably 75, 80%, maybe even 90% of the classes that Bob Huggins brought in.
Yeah, outside of the last year, Bob Huggins before the DUI, where we brought in Raekwon Battle and a couple of those guys, I think the depth of this year's class absolutely clears anything we have ever seen in West Virginia basketball history. it's very interesting in the concept of how we always talk about sometimes these smaller schools, or mid-major schools, I guess I should say, have had to adapt to the transfer portal a little bit quicker than what West Virginia has and some of these other schools. This is what you this is actually proving the point. Like, it is obvious that Ross Hodge has, I don't know the word I'm looking for here, but has maneuvered the transfer portal before.
Yeah.
The depth and the pieces that he has brought in, and we'll get in, a player, the players we brought in, but just looking at the roster right now and the guys you were able to bring in, it is evident that Ross Hodge knows what he's doing. And with a little bit of money in his pocket, like he has at West Virginia compared to North Texas, it's just been amazing to see what he's been able to do, and how he's embodied Morgantown and able to get players to say, hey, this is where I want to spend at least the next year of my life.
Yeah, and the former coach for basketball, whose name, his full name and real name will never ever be said on this channel again, never necessarily stepped out to go to any other sporting events or, really show his face around Morgantown, which is fine. I completely understand that. But the fact that the day before the Ross Hodge introductory kind of press conference, he's at the baseball game. He's talking to every single fan. He's taking pictures. It speaks volumes about this guy's character and the type of coach that we're getting, making these relationships so early. And let's be realistic. If an SEC school were to offer him after this year, if he has an unbelievable run, we get it. You know what I mean? We get it. But I really believe deep down in this guy's heart that this is a very good opportunity for him. He realizes that. I think he understands what West Virginia is about deep down. And that's kind of my whole heartfelt message about Ross Hodge. I think looking down the road here, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, we will look back in this and be like, damn, like Ren Baker absolutely nailed this hire over the guys that were some of the other options. Calhoun, maybe Patino, a couple other guys. So let's dive in real quick. This basketball is more so roster players who we brought in more than football, just because there's less guys to cover. I think I don't know about you. I haven't talked to you about this. I think there's been a glaring theme in the mold and type of team that Ross Hodge wants to build. We know that his teams are built on the defensive side of the ball. You're going to sit down and play half-court defense until you have blisters on the bottom of your feet, right? So he goes out and he brings in, first off, Brennan Laurent from North Texas, 6'9" forward, testing NBA waters this offseason. Could be a phenomenal 3-and-D wing for West Virginia this upcoming year. And then Jasper Floyd, another guard from North Texas, who averaged 9 points, 4 assists this past season, but had a phenomenal NIT tournament in a much larger role. Okay, those are the two guys he brings from North Texas. Who does he add on top of that, Noah? Two of arguably the best mid-major guys in the entire portal. Honor Huff from Chattanooga is one of the best mid-major shot-making guards I've ever watched. And I've watched Chattanooga a ton because they were one of my favorite teams to bet on. They were a really good program, won the NIT this past year. Huff coming in averaging 18 points, 3 rebounds. He's the guy. He chose us over St. John's and a couple other really good schools that he's going to be our Miles McBride. He's going to be our Javon Carter. He's going to be these prolific guards, Jawan Staten, that WVU basketball has had in recent years. Even dating back to last year, Noah, with
Javon Small.
Javon Small, thank you. So Honor Huff was a phenomenal get. And then I'll let you talk about Trayson Eaglestaff, who decommitted from South Carolina to choose us.
Yeah, and the funny thing is about Eaglestaff, Gage, coming from a smaller school in North Dakota, not even North Dakota State, was the shot-making ability by him. I watched him play Alabama, and I think I know he went for over 40. And then I watched him we were actually watching the game where he went into the conference tournament. I think they might have been playing South Dakota and scores over 50. And it's like, oh my gosh, like the shots this guy takes, he's unconscious. When he is on, he is on. The thing is with Eaglestaff, what he's going to do is he's going to be able to take pressure off Huff, who's a smaller guard, might have a little bit of a tougher time getting a shot off against, a solid Big 12 like a Houston school. Eaglestaff is going to be the 1-2 piece with him that he's going to be able to take that pressure off Huff and say, hey, look, if they don't respect me, I'm going to step up and hit a shot. I'm going to hit the three. I'm going to take it to the lane. And when they start focusing on me, I'll throw it back to you. You go ahead and have at it. It'll be very interesting to see how those two play the 1-2 combo, unless Eagle Staff could bump to the three. He is 6'6", so a pretty solid sized guard, in my opinion. Huff a little bit smaller, but definitely saw the shot-making ability. He played at a high level in the NIT against Big 12 teams. So we saw the ability out of both of these guys in just what they're able to bring to the table. Like you said, we're drawing in some of the highest mid-major talent, and that's not something we're used to doing. It like I said, it just shows that Hodge knows how to to maneuver and knows who to go after. I guess I'd say, like, who do we actually have a chance at getting? Okay, let's pursue them. Let's put our effort into here. A guy that was actually our first commit before even Lorient there, Gage, I wanted to hit on was Obia.
Yeah.
From UNCW. I mean, a huge 7-foot center, 280. And when you watch his highlights, it's like watching, I'm not going to go as far as say, especially after Jokic's performance last night, but very similar, can facilitate at the 5 spot, right? And that's what Obia can do.
An absolute force on the inside. Maybe I'm blanking, but I can't remember the last time we had a true 7-footer for the West Virginia Mountaineer basketball team.
Maybe Jamie Smalligan, maybe, I'm thinking.
Maybe. Even looking back to last year, right? Like, Andre was only like 6'10", 6'11". Yeah, which, I get it's like 2-3 inches difference, but he's going to be an absolute force on the inside. UNC Wilmington, who had tournament experience this past year, lost to your favorite team in the tournament last year, Texas Tech, so he'll kind of get his rematch here this upcoming year. Another guy, Noah, actually today, let's talk about Jaden. Is it Forsyth? Correct.
Forsyth. Yep.
Forsyth. I don't want to botch that. Coming from Xavier, who once again tournament experience this past year where they beat Texas. Another guy who shoots the 3 ball extremely well, sits down and defends, former 4-star recruit. It's like Ross Hodge came in, right? He came in, finally got his office made and his pictures put up, and then it's a blank whiteboard right behind his desk, and he turns around and takes his marker. It's like, you know what? Who do I want to resemble and kind of build this team around? And it's his team. I'm just using this here, but I want to imagine that he just writes Houston. That's all he writes across the whiteboard, because the guys that we've brought in all have really, really good 3-point shooting splits, right? And they sit down and guard. And look where that got Houston last year, to the championship game where they choked. Now we don't, on paper, we don't have an LJ Cryer. We don't have, actually, I'm not even joking. I would take Trayson Eaglestaff and Honor Huff over Emmanuel Sharp. And that's not just because of that last play in the national. That's not just because of that national championship game. I swear to you, I would take those guys over him.
No, I could see the. I think Sharp definitely for a Houston team is a not a defensive. Okay, let's be a defensive liability in my opinion. Doesn't set down and play defense like a Houston guard that we're used to seeing. I guess that's
yeah. So with all that being said, I think, and maybe we come out and we are absolutely nothing like Houston. Maybe we're more like Alabama, and we're just scoring 110 points and giving up 80, but it doesn't matter. That's not going to be the case, because if Ross Hodge's teams are giving up 80 points, that guy's going to have a heart attack, and we're going to be back in the hiring cycle by year 1 or 2. But listen, man, I am very, very pleased so far with the talent that we've brought in basketball. And I think it makes it a lot easier going into this upcoming year when you know you have the talent to compete in the Big 12 gauntlet, right? It's another thing if the coaching is on par and Ross Hodge is making all the right moves, all the right substitutions, and you just don't have the talent to win games, right? We saw that this past season with the guy we're not going to talk about. He just didn't have the depth pieces, and a couple guys, it was just like, is the moment too big here for KJ Tenner? Is the moment too big at times for Hansberry? Not a shot at Hansberry. We obviously really like him and appreciate him. But I feel like going into this season, the fact that you have some of these guys who are proven at that mid-major level and ready to make this jump, it would just become, you'll have a little bit of growing pains like every other team. But when you get that even out, and if you're playing at your top level heading into conference tournament in March, This could be a sneaky, sneaky team.
Yeah, and that's something I like. I really think that you said good there was when you look at last year's team and you say, okay, what were we really missing? One would probably say depth. We were 6 to 7 guys, and that's all we had. Now, injury, or if you want to call that an injury, hurt us and took a piece away from us. But we were missing, 2, 3 guys, and I think Ross Hodge looked at that and said, "Okay, this is not what we're going to be. We're not going to have to rely on 5 guys at all times to be able to be in the game, whether it be foul trouble, illness, or injury. We don't have that excuse, right?" Additionally, when you look at this gauge, and something I kind of had been twirling in my mind here the past few days, especially with all the additions, this kind of reminds me of the Moneyball movie, dude. It's like, okay, like, look, all these other teams can go out here and pay these guys millions of dollars. I think you sent today or yesterday
Boogie
the
Flan.
guy from Boogie Flan. I mean, if he doesn't go to the draft, what was Florida set to pay him? $7 million? Was that?
It was reported that if Boogie Flan does not enter the NBA draft and returns to college basketball, one of the top teams targeting him was Florida with a price tag of $6 million.
So you look at that and then you say, okay, West Virginia can't do that, right? We can't afford a $6 million player, right? We can't spend that on one guy. But what we can do is get 5 or 6, 7 guys that are going to sit down and play defense, obviously shoot the 3 ball well. We're going to rebound. And what we're going to do is beat you at other aspects in the game, such as getting stops when it matters, holding you to a low field goal percentage, us getting easy shots on our end. Not that we'll have to get easy shots with Trace and Eagle staff and Hunter Huff. So, I mean, we're looking at a very, very solid team and a foundation where it's like, okay, I don't really know. It's so hard to predict a starting 5 right now because we're so even in talent across the board. I mean, obviously there's guys that stand out, such as Eagle, Staff, and Huff, but I mean, we're very even, 8, 9 guys that you can play and say, okay, this is a pretty solid rotation, in my opinion. It has been very interesting to see what he can do. I don't know if you got to watch the Honor Huff little video with 3 guys before the games and Karidi.
I did not get a chance.
But, oh my gosh, Huff, the self-reflection on his game and him realizing, okay, I wasn't very efficient doing this. He even goes into depth like, okay, freshman year, this is what I did good. Sophomore year, this is what I did good. Junior year, this is what I did good, or so on. This is just what he's talking about, kind of the summary of it. But he's saying, he wasn't very efficient on that. He was very efficient, driving to the basket his freshman year. And then his coaches came to him and said, hey, look, you got to be able to knock down the 3. So now he knocks down the 3 last year. So yeah. He just says he just can't wait to put this all together. I think we're going to get a very, very solid guy in Huff.
I agree. Him and Eagle staff would definitely pace us as far as offense. Another guy we haven't even mentioned yet, Noah, Morris Ugasa from South Carolina, an SEC guy coming to West Virginia. This past season, 6 points, 2 rebounds, 38% shooter. Didn't necessarily have a ton of playing time, but had some good games. I believe it was against Vanderbilt and another SEC school. Once again, kind of similar to where we discussed in football, a guy who maybe wasn't getting the opportunity at the SEC school is going to have a little bit of a bigger role to come in and help us win games and hopefully, tap into the potential that he has. Another really talented guard, 6'4", 170. So, a couple more spots to fill as far as depth, or hell, maybe he goes out and gets another big name guy in the portal that's left. So, hey, similar to football, it feels like things are finally going our way, at least until we get to actually see the product on the field, and we'll kind of get to form and make our opinions at that point. But Noah, any kind of final thoughts from you, man? I've kind of expressed with my tone and words. I'm really excited for WVU sports this upcoming year, and as we wait, I mean, let's go ahead and just acknowledge the fact that the West Virginia baseball team is about 66-3 at the moment in their season and getting ready to host a regional. So it's been a really good time as far as baseball going right now, and then the results that we're having in the portal.
No, that's all I can feel. I can feel it in the air. Walking in September 13th to Milan Pushkar Stadium in the blue lot, and just soaking in that this season of all sports in West Virginia is just going to be phenomenal. Or I guess the word I'm going to use here to describe how I'm feeling is electric. I think the seasons are going to be electric.
I hope so, man. And yeah, you mentioned the Pitt game there, but if there is one singular Robert Morris fan out there watching this for whatever reason, understand that you are about to receive the ass whooping of a lifetime in week 1 from the West Virginia Mountaineers. That's all we got, man. Appreciate you guys watching as always. We'll see you in the next one.